What's up, YouTube? Little bit of everything Southern Homestead. Today we're going to be installing some rear lights on my 2019 F-250 Lariat. This isn't normally a video that we would post to the channel, but I believe these lights will be really helpful when pulling a trailer and having to unload and load a trailer, or if we hooking up a deer, hanging it over a branch, tying it to the hitch. You can put these lights on and they'll just work perfect. They're gonna go right here in the existing tow package. It's a product made by BMC. A guy Brian there, super nice fella, got the lights to me quick. I'm gonna go ahead and get them installed, run them to the factory upfitter switches, and we're gonna just give you a full detailed description of how we do that today. Let's go. All right, here's the package of BMC lights. They sent them pretty quick. Open it up, show you what we got here. So it comes with wiring harness, all the necessary instructions, materials, hardware. According to the owner, Brian, it's a pretty quick, pretty easy setup. This is the lights here. Pretty heavy duty, rough country. Matches the lights we got in the front of the truck, in the grill. I'll show you all those later when we get to the wiring portion of this video. So these lights, like we said, they're gonna slide in right there. And once they bolted up, there's also some little shims that go in there to help really hold it in place, keep it from rattling. But they're gonna be nice. Gonna have one on each side. Be super bright. No drilling required. Makes it real nice. Use those existing holes, I believe, there for the bolts, and go ahead and get it done. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is shim the actual insert where it goes into the hitch mount here. Brian says the F-350s require a little less, maybe no shims at all. F-250, this thickness of this square tubing here is a little thinner. So I don't know if you can see this. They send these little rubber shims, and according to the instructions, let's see if you can get this in camera. This is the top of the light here. So you kind of place that there, and you kind of just figure out what your truck requires. That feels pretty good there. So that may be the ticket. And of course it's going to be bolted in the back here. Right there, there's a little L bracket lines up with that hole, 9/16 bolt. Tighten it up real good. Wire in there is already ready just to kind of plug and play. So there's two more shims. There's some of the hardware, 9/16 bolt, a couple washers, Teflon or nylon lock nut, and then there's a double plug, another double, a couple singles. I'm really liking this one here. It's a double to a single. It's probably what we'll end up using. Connect the two lights together to one wire to go to the front for the power source. And like I said, pretty detailed instructions, front and back. How to just make your life easier. BMClights.com. Let's go ahead and try to get this one bolted in here. All right. See if I can do this without getting in the way of the camera too much here, but I'm gonna go ahead and trim this rubber. Well, that was pretty easy. Got it trimmed away, a little razor knife action. What we'll do next is we'll loosely put in a bolt, a couple washers, and a nut. So we got bolt, we got washer. We'll go through, and then we got washer, and we got a nut. All right, so that looks pretty good. So that's the side lights here. They'll be facing down. So we have the left side on the driver's side. We'll go around and do the same thing on the passenger side. All right, for the passenger side, it seems like instead of doubling the top, it kind of prefers that we double the bottom for a better fit. You know, these hitch bars are just mass produced, or the square tubing, so no two sides will be alike, I'm sure, but to make it slide, we're gonna put a little armor all on there, just as the instructions said, just right on those rubber pads, kind of like that, and we're gonna put this one on top of our light, single, and we're gonna see if I can get that in the camera there. We're gonna fold this one in half on the bottom. See if y'all can see that there. Zoom out a little bit. So that's how it looks. Not a whole lot of play. Now forward and backwards there's some. Got a little armor all here on the light. That's good though. Be nice and shiny. But again, that L bracket and that bolt is gonna take care of anything left and right for you, so shouldn't move one bit. Go ahead and get that one bolted in. All right, so I couldn't figure out, I was tightening up the bolts here, and I couldn't figure out why the light started to kind of migrate out away from the rear of the truck. But it's because there's a huge space, I don't know if you can see right here in between. And I was wondering why the kit included so many extra washers, and now it makes sense. So these washers help fill this hole. That way it doesn't, everything here stays nice and flush. It doesn't pull it away from the actual frame, because what was happening is the light itself was kicking out, which might not be a bad thing, but I just didn't like the way it looked. Everything looked kind of crooked. So we'll pass the bolt through right here with those washers now making a space. And you can see there, it fills that gap between the frame. See if I can get it here. Between the frame and the actual bracket, and everything else still looks real straight. And then we'll just put a washer and the lock nut on that side, tighten it up real good, make sure it's straight, and then we'll get to the wiring portion. So we got washer and a nut, and you can see that washer's a little bit bent. That's just because everything's real tight. That slot in the frame already existed, so there was no drilling needed. And then we have the bracket from the light here, the bolt, one washer, a second washer, a spacer, and then another washer. And everything looks pretty good. The crack there looks nice and even. There's no distortion of the light one way or another. And I'm going to show you the back side of it, actually at the rear of the truck. All right, so that's the light. There's really no play. There's a little notch in this tubing here, but otherwise it's pretty straight. Remember, we doubled up the rubber on this side, on the bottom, because that's what it seemed like it liked more. And you can see it's not going anywhere. So this is a rough country. I think he offers them in 5 different light variations. This is, pardon that motorcycle passing. This is a rough country chrome series. I believe they make a black series, and that's just the inside of the lights here. But all this is made up by Brian at BMC, and this is again some more lights on the sides here. Can't wait to see what they look like tonight. Finish up this install, do the wiring, test everything, make sure it all works well, and then make sure there's not a whole lot of play in that light. It's about the same as the other side. I'll show y'all how it's a little different here as far as the bolts go. All right, so this is the driver's side. And as you can see here, I only needed one washer, bracket, washer, bolt, and then washer, nut. And you can see here, again, the crack's pretty even. Remember, we doubled up the rubber on the top on this one, and we put the single rubber spacer on the bottom, and there's really no play in the light. I mean, I'm shaking it pretty hard. So here's the plugs. We're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna route our wiring. This truck has some wiring on this driver's side going in from the back to the front, so we'll probably just follow that, and then we'll connect to the upfitters. All right, and that's how they look. BMC rough country rear hitch mounted lights. They go in the factory frame of the towing package. All right, so we're back on the driver's side. After looking at it a couple times, I didn't care for the way it kind of looked. It just wasn't as square as the other side. So I went ahead and doubled the rubber on the bottom, singled the rubber on top. The crack looks a little better there. And then we took away that spacer or washer in between the bracket and the frame. So we have bolt, washer, bracket, washer, nut. And I think everything looks a little better here now. So pretty much the same thing we did on the left side. My truck frame just seems to like the doubled rubber on the bottom versus the top to make a good solid fit. You can see it's not moving at all right there. Real good and solid. And I'm just a little bit of a perfectionist, so that's why I went back and changed it. You can do it however you like as long as you're happy with the product. All right, so now we can start wiring. All right, so here's the wiring information, the wiring harnesses that's included with the BMC light kit. Also bought some 3/8 wire cover, that corrugated wire cover. And that's just me again. That's how I like it. I like my wires on the bottom of my truck to be protected. So we're gonna start in the back, make our way to the front. That way, once we get in the front, any excess wire we can trim off, and then we can connect everything to the upfitter. Try to get this done here. All right, so BMC makes everything kind of plug and play. You can see here, everything just kind of goes together. You would run one to the driver's light. You would take one of these extensions, go across to the passenger light, and then run the wire and harness to the front. I was hoping that these would fit around those connections just to make everything waterproof, but I'm also thinking this won't fit in my 3/8 corrugated wire covering. So I'm probably just gonna cut these off, use these connectors for a watertight seal, and then I'm gonna cover them with this heat shrink and then put it inside my 3/8. But I'll show you all that when we do it. And again, that's just me. I'm sure they tested these connections, you know, over and over and over for durability and for no issues, but you can see they don't fit all the way together there, but I'm sure that's fine. And then I don't know about this hanging piece, so I'm just gonna snip everything right there, splice it together myself, and then run it to the front of the truck. All right, so we're back on the passenger side. We'll cut these little plugs off. That way we can do our other little fittings there. I took one of the ones that was already kind of cut and sized everything. So what you'll need is 16 to 14 gauge weather wrap or weather shrinked crimps. And then I have this heat shrink, various sizes here. It's gonna be the largest size. Go ahead and strip the wire. All right, so I kind of got y'all over my shoulder here, but you strip about, you know, a little less than 1/4 inch off each one. Twist them up to where all the wires stay good and tight. This one kind of split already, so let's see if we can do this without messing any of the wire up. All right. So we'll do that there, like so. We'll get one of our, or actually two of our little connectors here. And based on the kind of pliers you have, you see there, you can see that it shows blue at 16 gauge. So we'll slide them on. And then from here, what we'll do is we'll run our other wires. Probably go either through the frame, or we'll go up here right along the underneath side of the tailgate. There's some other wires up here on superior portion of the frame. There's also a square tubing above here in the frame. Maybe we can go through there, but once I get it routed, I'll show y'all how I did it. All right, so I found out a few things here. The harness they included is actually a smaller gauge wire. I don't know if it's maybe 18. I don't think it's 22. But the harness with the way I want to run the wiring is not quite long enough. So I got some 16 gauge primary wire that's used to like wire trailer lights. I had this laying around. Obviously, if you got to buy it, it's an extra expense. I don't see any price tag on it, but I have some in red and some in black. So I'm gonna connect that and then run that to the driver's side. And then I'll probably use the same harness that they included in the kit to run to the front of the truck. And that's it. It looks pretty good. And again, we'll cover it with that 3/8 covering and we'll run it to the other side. But it should be pretty well waterproofed. We'll get it ran and we'll do the same thing on the other side and then we'll run it to the front of the truck. Let's do it. All right, so we routed it through the frame from the passenger side over here to the driver's side. I got everything kind of hanging here. I'm not sure if that's in the frame or not. But we're gonna go through the frame in this hole here and then connect everything here, figure out where we're gonna ground it, and then we're gonna go forward with that. So I put the connectors on the light already. So we're back under the truck. I'm gonna pass that corrugated tubing with our wire in it through this side here. Get my hand between the frame and then through this bigger hole here. I'm gonna pass it to come meet the passenger side. Let's see. Sorry, I bumped the camera. All right, so about like that. And what we're gonna do, we'll put a little, let's see if I can show you. We'll put a little tape right here just before it goes in that hole, because that hole's pretty small. Snug it up, that way it holds it pretty well and gets some of this tension out, or this, I guess, adds some tension, gets rid of this loose wire, because I don't want it hanging here. So I'll do that now. All right, so I added the tape. I'm just gonna push it through. It makes it just a little bit more snug there. Don't want it too much. There we go, kind of like so. And then I don't know if you can see here with all these other wires, but it comes through the frame there. This is the wire from the passenger side. We're going to connect everything here, and we're going to follow this wire, these wires right here. They go all the way to the front of the truck. We're just going to ride right along the side of those all the way to under the hood and get to that upfitter switch box, or the switch harness, I should say. All right, so we came off the light through the frame. I put a little zip tie on each side just to keep it from moving, plus some tape in between in case it rubs. Came through here and then connected our lights from left and right together. There you go. See if I can zoom in on that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect to the wiring harness here. there it is. This is our lights here. We're gonna probably zip tie that there. It goes through the frame. And then you can see it's gonna come out right here on top of this square tubing. And it's gonna follow this wire right here, all the way to the front. It's just that simple. All right, so it comes right there. And you can see it's right here. And it's just gonna follow this wire right on the side of the shock here. And it's gonna continue on. Good, clean looking install. Got it well secured. See if it'll focus there. Again there, again there. All right, so we're gonna continue up right here, right there, and then right there. This would be a lot easier with a lift in a shop, but just laying on the ground here, getting it done, working my way up towards the cab and then towards the engine bay. All right, so we went through that frame brace, went through the piece of frame there, came back out here, followed along the tank. All right, so we came right there alongside the gas tank here. We went up between the gas tank and the frame, and then we popped out right here. And this is some factory wiring here. So put a little light on it. There you go. And we just followed. I think that other wire that we're following actually comes, I have a Lear camper top on the back, and I think the interior lights and some of the other accessories may go all the way to the front. But you can see we're gonna follow along next to this, I'm guessing that's a frame mount or a cab mount. And then we're gonna go right on in the engine bay. All right, so we came over that body mount. This wire here is actually the one that was already there. So I didn't like how it touches this. I think that's a brake cable. So we went on top. We followed this factory wire here. And then we're right there at the rubber grommet now. So we're gonna go into the engine bay. Or that may actually go into the cab. I'm not quite sure. I think that actually goes into the cab. So we're gonna have to go past that and get up in there to get into the engine bay. But we're gonna make it happen one way or another. All right, so here we are at the engine bay. Let's see. All these wires here, these color-coded wires, that's all your upfitter switches there. So you can see all the terminal ends. And what I'm gonna do is, I got this tool, it's called a fish. It's used by electricians. I'm just gonna drop it down right where I want the wire to come up, and I'm gonna see where that comes out at the bottom, if it's actually behind the fender well, or if it goes more middle of the truck and comes up closer to where the front axle is and the drive shaft, or what. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna go back below and see where the wire comes out, and then try to pull up the existing wire from the back to the front, so we can figure out our length and figure out where we're gonna ground it and do all the other things we need to do. And then it'll be easy. We just gotta figure out which one of those colored wires is the number 3 upfitter, which is the one I'm gonna use because 1 and 2 is already taken. All right, so here's the fish tape. I dropped it down right in there. See if you can see this here. No, it's kind of dark down there, but I dropped it down, and we're gonna see where it comes out on the bottom here. All right, so there it is. So it comes out, looks like right on the back side of the fender here. See if I can hold the camera in the light. So right there, this looks like the main wire and harness here to the truck. So if we come back a little ways, we'll see that's right where we were following here, because that's our wire. I'm gonna go right down that main wire and harness. We're gonna connect to that tape right here on this terminal end, and we're gonna pull it up through, and then that'll be a wrap. A few connections up top, ground it out, and we done. All right, so main wire and harness around that cab mount, and then right there. And what you see in here is, that's the electrician's fish or the tape, and it's taped to the end of the wire. We're gonna pull it up through right to where we need it on top. Let's go see how this works out. All right, I don't know if you can see, but that looks pretty perfect. Wiring's right there. Our corrugated tubing is right there. We're gonna attach them to each other. And then those little bundle of colored wires to the right are all the upfitter switches. We'll find number 3. We'll get this done. Down there in the engine bay. All right, so then this is gonna be the end of our harness, and we're gonna cut it. We're gonna leave a lot of length because we're not sure where we're gonna ground it out yet. The only wire that needs to go to the upfitter switch is the red wire, so we'll separate them and split them. We'll figure out which one's number 3, and then we'll get it done. See if I can show you. Right down in there, the new wire is, there we go, attached to one of the just existing wires. I'm not sure what wire that is, but it's just holding it there real good and snug. It's not going anywhere, and those are the terminal ends there for the upfitters, so we'll cut that tie wrap and figure out which one's the one we need. All right, so I got the wires free. There's a little diagram here. See if I can show it to you. Shows which one's which. Oh, maybe BU must be blue. That makes sense. So, burgundy. Trying to throw in all these fancy colors. This is a Ford, come on now. BU is blue, so blue and green, which would be this one. So we'll go ahead and we'll snip that end off. That way we know it's the one we want. And these are some pretty thick wires, so we'll go ahead and strip it. So we got everything tucked back away there. You can see those are all your upfitter wires. And then these are the 3 I've used so far, along with the black here for us to ground these new lights. See what we can do. All right, so you can see here I got some other lights that go to the front. Some inline fuses, and back here there's 2 relays, and everything's grounded out to a little bolt in the frame there. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna run it along those wires, and I've taken this bolt out before, so I know it's safe to take out. I had to recently pull out the front headlight to get to my windshield washer pump because it was clogged up. Clean it out, put it all back together. So I'm gonna put on this little fitting here and some shrink wrap, see if we can't get it to go there. It's a 10mm wrench. See if that'll work. So that's it. Got it grounded. We'll tuck those wires up underneath where those other wires are, and then we'll see if it works. So we got upfitters here. We got 1, 2, 3. So this is the rough countries in the grill. This is the SICK diesel C-Light continuations, and this is the new rough country. All right, so the lights in the front look like they're doing pretty good. They're running. Rough country's in the grill there, and then the C-Light continuation. Scan out a little bit. Those look nice. Those have been on my truck for a little while now. right, so it's getting dark. About, I don't know, 15 feet from the fence. You see the lighting here. Go ahead and turn those new lights on and see what they look like. Looks pretty good. You can see the little side lights there. And you can see it definitely illuminates a lot better than anything else. See if I can get you a picture of the back of the truck without blinding the camera here. Definitely bright. I really like these little lights on the side here. Gives you just enough light there in case you need to see anything in the back on the side of the truck. Pretty nice. BMC lights in the back. This is the Rough Country edition. Pretty bright. Brian's got a good product here. All right, that's all we got for today. Later.